fast. You get all the information brought right to you. This is not a pitch on ChatGPT, by the way. I don't have any skin in that game. But it is so much more amazing than Google. Okay, here we go. So we're zoomed in on a daily chart. Going back a few years, we see some big volume back here. This is what January of 22 makes sense. Here's the lows. You have a lot of volume. This volume really, truly does stand out. Now, is there any volume in here that really stands out? I would probably say yes. I wouldn't say that this is anything that I'm afraid of, but I would definitely say yes. There is play here. This is play. All right. You don't have to look, you don't have to be incredibly specific. I talked to a good friend of mine. He's a market maker, and he says the same thing I say all the time. People are always so worried about what's the number? What's the number? The number doesn't matter. Is it big or is it small? If it's small, it's not going to affect anything. If it's big, it's going to have a massive effect. If it's kind of in the middle, it's going to affect it, but not to the scale of something big. I would say that's what we're looking at here. I would say that red line is probably your average. You have play. You definitely have play here. So this is definitely a stock that is being moved. And I would say that it probably starts right here. I would say, what is that? The January 29th. So I would say on the 29th of January, this thing started getting messed with. Now let's zoom in a little bit. That's a weekly chart. Let's zoom into a daily chart. Excuse me. All right, here we go. So once again, it's the same thing. Big bars or big money, right? Or multitudes of humans all moving in the same direction. And if you're a trend follower, you guys are always moving in the same direction. So it doesn't matter if it's one of you or 100 of you. When you break a level, you're all going to break the level, which could make, a down move pretty swift right now. So here we go. I would call that your average volume. Now, what do we see when we go through this chart? Well, this is a gap down and it fills to the upside. Okay. This is tiny, probably doesn't matter. This is a gap down. It effectively fills to the upside. This is a stock, not an index. So gaps are going to fill completely. And if you're looking at a messy stock, they're not going to fill all the time ever. They're not in the 90th percentile. You're dealing in an individual position, okay? But what you do see is the attempt to fill. Now, this little gap, you could argue this is very, very ignorable. But here's what I don't like about it. Up into this point right here, where's that little circle thing? Up into that point, come here. Here, I'll do this. Up into this point right here, all your gaps were gaps down. Gaps down are very indicative. If you're in a range, if you're just in a range, gaps down are indicative of buying. They want to gap the price down to get it cheaper and buy it. If you're in a falling market and you have gaps down, that means it's either picking up momentum, and that's not good. I mean, that's always a possibility. But if you get down towards the low, if you see like what you saw in what I call it a wave 3 there, and you start seeing a lot of gaps, that's gaps lower to test for supply. They're going to pop through levels at the open so that nobody has a chance to manually adjust anything. They want all their computers to trigger the action. So that's also not good. Now, when you are in a stock that is breaking to new highs or an index that is breaking to new highs, and you start to see gap ups that do not fill, that is an unhealthy market, and that is a speculator's market, and most definitely tons of trend following. Those are trend guys. That's why when it pops, you're getting these huge levels of volume. It's all computer generated, right? And so you get these huge orders. So Google right now, what will we say about it? Well, even as we zoom in, from a wide point of view, it's good. From a weekly point of view, it's good. We know it's in play. Also, there's not enough volume for us to assume that Google's being sold by anybody. On a daily chart, though, we can have the assumption that they want to pull this thing back down at least to this 155 level, or it will come back down to the 155 level, and most likely it's going to have to come range bound again. Now, that's what we know from the daily. So here we are at the daily. Let's go ahead and zoom in again. We'll go to a 2-hour chart. All right. So here we are. And is there any outstanding volume? In fact, there is. Look, this is that gap that I said, wow, look at that.